Welcome to Session 2, Listening Fully. Last session you learned about trading places and you practiced seeing things from your partner's view. You also experienced empathy. Remember the exercise where your partner shared a story from their childhood and you stepped into their shoes, even sat in their chair, and retold their childhood memory as if you were them? Trading places is key for a deeper connection to occur.
So go ahead and turn in your workbook to Session 2, Listening Fully. Right, so this is the skill that you're going to be learning. It is listening with empathy. And what we'll do is take a closer look at how you did it when you retold your partner's childhood story. And so what we have are several guidelines for you to go over so you can understand better how to do this listening with empathy. So turn in your workbook to Guidelines for Listening with Empathy. Okay, so part of listening with empathy is internal. It happens inside you. And then the other part is shared with your partner.
So the preparation step comes first. Check your attitude before you listen. Overcome any barriers that are preventing you from listening. And there are many blocks to good listening. And we've listed some in your workbook. Work, sports, if you don't want to hear it.
I remember we had a couple who said they realized if they are hungry, it is not a good time for them to do the work that's required to listen. So they go out to eat, then do this kind of listening.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It might be that you disagree, or it might be something that's painful, or even you're just in a hurry. You've got a lot to do. Put aside those distractions and focus on what your partner is saying. Also, become open to and accepting of your partner's point of view. You can't listen if your thoughts are overwhelmed with judgment or blame or disagreement. You just can't listen well. If you're not ready, let your partner know that you'd like to have the conversation later.
Right. If it's the ninth inning of the ball game, I have learned it is not a good time for Don to listen, right?
That's good.
So he can tell me, can we do this after the last out is over?
Yeah.
Okay, so then when you are ready to listen, guideline number 1 says, listen in a way that shows strong interest. So what does it look like when a person is not listening? Don, maybe you can show us if you're distracted and...
Oh, maybe I'm watching the ball game and you're trying to tell me something, so I'm trying to act like
but the remote is still...
But wait a minute, what's going on here?
The remote is still in his hand, right? This is not a time for me to expect him to show strong listening. And then sometimes we get signs from our partner that as we're talking to them, they disagree with us, and we can see it in their body language, like when we're having a disagreement.
I know my jaw gets tight, and I get a stern expression on my face, and maybe it'll be like this.
Right, so he's showing me that, you know what, as I'm saying this, he's already giving me his message. And be very careful about that. Think about how you show strong listening. What does it look like when somebody is really listening to you? How do you know that they're really interested in what you have to say? Sarah?
They usually respond with nonverbal cues such as facing you. Mm-hmm. They might nod.
They might nod like I'm doing?
Yes, and that really makes me want to talk more. Eye contact.
Eye contact, right. So facing the person, eye contact, maybe they're nodding, and that's probably what you were doing as you were practicing the childhood story, listening to your partner. So that's the kind of listening we want you to do. And as you do that, try to put your own thoughts and feelings on hold and focus in on what your partner's saying, not on what you're going to say next. Try to set that aside, okay? And pay close attention to the body language from your partner, because as they're saying words, right, like I'm listening with the remote in their hands. Pay close attention to the body language, because if they're telling you something that's important to them, their body language will also convey some things. So you want to read that also, okay? So let's turn to the second guideline. That is, set aside your own views and become your partner. Put yourself in your partner's place, essentially trade places, and identify with him or her. Imagine you're having your partner's experience. Imagine you are your partner having their experience. And concentrate on looking over your partner's shoulder. So if I'm listening to Don, I'm going to look over his shoulder. Remember that from session 1. I'm going to try and see things and feel things from his point of view. That's what you're doing there. That's the internal part of empathy.
For empathy to work, that internal part has to be there. We're not trying to develop a bunch of parrots that simply repeat words. If you think of a parrot, they can say sentences and they can say words that we understand, but they don't understand it. It's just that the sound is the same. We're hearing it, and we don't want that kind of empathy. That's shallow and doesn't have the kind of depth that we're looking for. So think about what's going on inside your partner. What's important to them? As your partner, what do you feel as you put yourself in their shoes? You'll start to experience some of those feelings. What are you concerned about? What is it that you want?
Right. So for example, we like driving out to the desert, and sometimes we end up driving out late at night to get out there and play with the sea-doos out on the desert lake out there. And there's a patch of freeway or highway that is just very desolate. So if Don were driving alone out to the desert and it was late at night and he got a flat tire and there was hardly anybody around, what would your experience be like? What would you think, but what would you feel also?
Well, I'd be mad, and I'd be, if it was late at night, I'm probably tired, so I'd be frustrated, maybe grouchy that I have to, when I'm tired, be delayed and stay out longer. I won't like getting dirty, probably, because that'll be dirty, changing the tire.
Right. So that's Don having his experience talking about what he would think and feel having a flat tire late at night. Now, if he sets himself aside and he becomes me, and he thinks about what it would be like for me late at night, alone, driving in the desert on that same patch of desolate freeway, and I get a flat tire, talk as if you were me and trade places with me and tell me my thoughts and my feelings. Speak as me.
So as Alex, I would feel scared. I'd be scared that somebody might stop to help, and I wouldn't know if they were there to help me or if they were there to hurt me. I might be wondering if I'm able to change the tire, if I know how to do it, or if I'm strong enough to get the lug nuts off.
Right. So do you see the difference there? That's me. That's me. I would be scared that somebody was going to try to help me and they really weren't, and there was danger there, or could I even do it? So as he stepped into my shoes and saw it and felt it from my perspective, that's the kind of thing we're talking about with this second guideline. Set aside your own views and become your partner. Look at it from their point of view, because you are becoming them, thinking about it and feeling it from their point of view.
Now the external part of listening with empathy begins. Guideline 3 says, name your partner's thoughts, feelings, concerns, and desires. In your workbook, you'll see an experience diagram. And the illustration there is that for every event or experience, we have thoughts and we have feelings, and we may also have deeper concerns and desires. And that's illustrated there. We'll talk more about that as we go through the class, but we can look at any event or experience that we have through that lens and understand it better through that kind of a diagram. A subpoint is you'll choose how to begin, how you will give your empathy. You may use the I form of giving empathy. You did this last session. That's where you spoke as if you were your partner in the childhood memory. You say as, and then you use your partner's name, and then you go ahead and retell to them their experience. That's the I form of giving empathy. You may choose to use the you form of giving empathy. That's what we use in normal conversation. That's what's common. Oh, so you think this, you feel this way. It's empathy both ways.
Right, and in this program, we use the I form of listening with empathy, because what we have found and what the research has shown us is that using that I form helps you really much more deeply step into your partner's shoes. Really turn, when we have these kinds of disagreements and we have difficulty understanding each other, if I can turn away from my own point of view and my disagreement with what he has to say and look over his shoulder, by starting off and talking as if I am him, it really, really helps me set aside my own disagreement and other feelings. So that's what we'll be using in this program, the I form of listening with empathy in Couple Talk.
You'll name what's important. It isn't a memory game. It's not a test to see how much you can remember of what your partner said. You say it back in your own words. You will also have the freedom to read between the lines. You'll focus on feelings that your partner expresses, and there may be some things that you know to be true that they didn't exactly say, but it's good for you to name them. That shows your connection to them. That helps them to know that you're listening and that you understand them, and it may even benefit them in their own self-understanding. So go ahead and name those things that you know to be true, even if your partner hasn't named them. And when giving empathy, avoid asking questions, avoid giving advice, don't give sympathy. All of those are good things normally, but when we're in a couple talk and your role is to just listen to what your partner's saying and give empathy back, that's not the place for sympathy or questions or ideas from you. When you have your turn, then you'll be able to do it, but not while you're giving empathy back to your partner.
Mm-hmm. Right. The final guideline is accept and make corrections graciously. We view corrections as a gift. Corrections are a gift because your partner is the expert on what's really going on inside them. And so if they hear you summarize back with empathy because you're trying to become them and it doesn't sound quite right, let your partner correct you because they're going to teach you more about what's really accurate, what's really going on inside of them. So it's a gift for them to teach you more about what's inside of them. And then what you do is you then make that correction, speak as if you are your partner and make that correction, and then you will be able to really internalize what that new information is. And so what happens is they teach you, it becomes a safe place because you are not taking corrections as reprimands, you're taking them as loving teaching. They're opening up more to you and you're showing them that you're interested in even going deeper and understanding more about them. Okay.
So these guidelines tell us about how to listen to our partner. But it's practicing giving empathy that's really going to make the difference in us being able to actually do it. So we'll have you practice. We're going to do an exercise now, and it's called an early memory of us. And the purpose of this exercise is for each of you to experience empathy in a situation in which both of you were involved. Here's how it'll work. You'll think of a memory from when the two of you were first dating or getting to know each other. And you'll tell your partner your memory and how you felt about it. Were you nervous? Were you curious? Were you surprised? Were you excited about it? Whatever your memory is, it may not be a positive memory. It may be that you had trouble that time and you want to share that. It's up to you. You get to choose it. But you'll tell your story and you'll include the feelings that you had in that experience. Your partner will listen with empathy. As partner's name, I remember when such and such, and retell the story as if you were your partner. When you're finished, you'll repeat that exercise with the other partner telling a story of their own. And it doesn't have to be the same story. It can be something entirely different. So together you'll maybe have two separate memories that you'll tell each other. It could be that you happen to choose the same memory and you'll talk about the same experience but from different points of view. You'll be surprised to notice there might be some differences in the way you experienced that memory. If you finish before the time is up, we want you to start again and pick another early dating memory so that you can continue to practice during our practice time. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds now to think of a memory that you're going to tell your partner.
Right, and you don't need to talk to your partner because it's your own event, your own memory. So you're just on your own going to think of a memory that you're going to tell your partner.
Okay, take 30 seconds to choose your topic.
On your own, choose your topic for the next exercise.
As you're telling your story, there are feelings that we want you to recall and tell your partner. And in the appendix, there's a feeling words list. I'd like you to take a quick look at that in your appendix. And if you are looking to grasp the right word to express the feeling that you have, this can be a wonderful tool. It has in bold letters broad feeling words, and underneath those bold ones are gradations or different variations of that same broad feeling. So as we're learning to express feelings, this can be a nice tool for you. So keep your finger there, and if as you're telling your story, if it will help you to express your feelings better, flip over and take a minute and check out the appendix. Before you do your exercise, Alex and I are going to tell an early dating memory that we have, and we'll do that as a demonstration for you now.
And I'll be telling my memory. Don doesn't know what I'm going to say, so this is my memory. And after I finish, we will trade places, we'll switch chairs, and then he'll become me. So this was when we were just dating we're just kind of like hanging out a little, actually. And I remember that we were going to go visit another couple at a restaurant. We were going to go out to eat with them. So we went together, and as we were walking in the entrance to the restaurant, there was this obviously homeless guy sitting on a bench right next to the restaurant. Right next to the entrance. So I turned to you and I said, what do we do? And I thought maybe you might give him $10 or, offer, to help him in some way. And what was surprising to me was that you said, well, let's invite him in to eat with us for dinner. And I went along with it. I was kind of shocked. I wasn't sure who this guy was, inviting this homeless guy into a nice restaurant. So I kind of felt like all eyes were on us at the restaurant, and that's not a favorite feeling of mine. But there was just something kind of nice about it, because I thought, well, if this guy is willing to kind of think outside the box in this way and do this for a homeless guy, then maybe he might be a good guy. Maybe he is somebody to kind of keep getting to know. So that's my memory.
Okay, let's trade places.
Okay.
So, as Alex, I remember when we were dating, really not even totally an item yet, just hanging around together. And we were going to a restaurant. And we went to go into a restaurant together, and there was a homeless guy outside. So I did. I said, well, look, there's that homeless guy over there. What do you think we should do? And it was a little bit of a test to see kind of what your response would be. And you said, well, let's ask him to come in for dinner with us. And you went over and asked him, and he accepted. And we ended up coming in. And that all was kind of surprising to me, but it was kind of nice also. I imagined that somebody like that could think out of the box and do something unusual that was kind, would be a good person to be around. And it made me have a respect for you, and I felt attracted to you because of the way you handled that.
But then there's also that one feeling also that I had said, and that is that it was also embarrassing. It was not, I don't have a favorite memory of sitting at that table with all eyes on us with this homeless guy that people started kind of moving farther and farther away from. So there, so part of it was like, wait, where else is this guy going to be taking me maybe, a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah. So as Alex, I also remember feeling embarrassed. It was, we were at a table with this obviously smelly homeless guy, and while I liked an element to that, there was a part of that where I felt kind of embarrassed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Well, now it's your turn. We're going to ask you to tell each other an early dating memory.
Right, and I want to point out that Don didn't know my memory, so that's the same with you. You haven't told your partner the memory, so just go right into the story. And remember that you were there. As your partner's telling the story, you're maybe going to be remembering some things, so remember to try to set that aside because you're focusing in on your partner's memory.
So we'll have you turn your chairs so you're facing each other knee to knee. We'll let you know when we're about halfway through. There will be a signal, and there will be another signal when there's just a minute left so you can begin to wrap up. And at the very last few moments, the music will come louder so you know that it's time to regroup and come back together as a group. All right? So have some fun telling each other some early dating memories. Ready, go.
Turn your chairs so you're knee to knee with your partner and begin the exercise.
You're halfway done.
Start wrapping it up. There's 1 minute remaining. Time to return to the group. Dawn and Alex are getting ready to start up again.
take a minute to answer some questions from the workbook.
Look at your workbook and mark the debrief on your own.
So how was that? Now both of you this time were in the memory, so did you have any trouble remembering who was who? What'd you do about that?
It was a little difficult, but it made it helpful to keep saying I as Carissa, and it kept me in her memory and being able to recognize who I was retelling it.
Right. So actually repeating that as you're talking and sometimes saying, you know, I as Don, I, as you're doing it will help remember that you are not there. It's really you talking as if you're Carissa. Right, exactly. And also the switching chairs that we asked you to do probably helped you too. Step into their experience better, more deeply.
So we'd like for you now to take a minute and just talk to your partner about what this exercise was like. Go.
Turn and talk to your partner about this exercise.
I hope you enjoyed that exercise. It's usually a fun one. But now we're going to move on to another exercise. This one is exploring something important to me. And the way this will work is you'll talk about something that matters to you, something that you're going through, something you're wondering about, maybe something in the future. And it doesn't even have to be something that you've fully thought through. It can be something that you just want to kind of explore with your partner.
I, a couple of years ago, decided to leave my teaching job at the university. And so we were down at the beach one day and Don said, let me just listen to you for a while.
Well, I noticed that you were, I don't know, a little subdued, something was not right.
So he said, let me do this job of just listening with empathy. And so I started talking about what it was like for me to leave a job where I had been 20 years. And I started with, I'm kind of nervous about, what my next steps are. And he listened with empathy.
Yeah, as Alex, I'm just really not sure what's next. I don't know what's coming.
Right, and I was just exploring it, saying, I realize I've been there a long time and I like having my routine and it's very comfortable there. And so he listened with empathy.
Yeah, as Alex, I had a kind of a regular pattern, a routine that was natural and comfortable, and now I'm leaving that.
And then as we kind of went for a while, it started to hit me, I moved when I was like 10, and it was one of the most distressing events in my life. And this was starting to bring back some of those feelings because these people knew me for 20 years. And so I started talking about that and what it was like to leave people who I care about and who really know me. And he was able to give empathy to me as if he were me. What did you?
As Alex, I'm really realizing that I feel sad about leaving. It's going to be hard to leave these people. And I'm even noticing a connection to when I moved from Philadelphia when I was 10.
So as he kind of repeated it back and summarized with empathy, I was learning more about myself. And so I kind of went deeper and could make more connections. So that's our goal for you in this exercise. We won't have as much time as we had on the beach. It was like 45 minutes.
What I thought was, she just doesn't seem, herself quite fully. After we started into that and got into it, you were in tears, and a lot of emotion came out that was kind of in there, and I don't think you knew about it at the time.
Right.
I think you kind of learned about it as you explored, and I didn't say anything to you like, oh, what about this, or do you remember that, or don't forget you're going to have this good thing in the future. All I did was just listen and let you go where you went.
Yeah, for 45 minutes, he was just really focused on empathizing with me. So that's our goal for you, and so we're going to give you a short amount of time. It could be that you just have enough time for one person to start exploring something important to you, but we want you to get started on this. And again, go ahead and switch places, trade places, switch your chairs with each other this final time as you're doing this.
As you are telling your partner this thing that's important to you, pause every 30 seconds or so and allow your partner to summarize back with empathy. It can be difficult to remember if there's too much content, so you'll find your own rhythm. Some can remember more and some less, and each couple is different, so we're just suggesting that you not go too long. And if your partner gives empathy and it's not right, go ahead and give them that gentle correction. And remember that it's not reprimand, it's not punishment. That's a gift you're giving. And if you're the one who receives the correction, take it as a gift. Oh, okay, he or she wants me to really understand it fully, and I want to also, so how nice that I'm getting that cleared up.
So we've listed some possible topics in your workbook. For instance, a personal goal perhaps that you have, or perhaps a spiritual question that you've been exploring, or an upcoming new phase of life. Maybe you're going to become a parent soon, or you've left college and you're on the job market. So think about the topic that you would like to explore with your partner. We'll give you a few moments to choose your topic.
On your own, choose your topic for the next exercise.
Remember, when you're listening to your partner, no questions, no giving advice. All right? So, ready, go.
Turn knee to knee with your partner and start the exercise.
You're halfway there.
You've got just one more minute. Time to return to the group. We're getting ready to start up again.
workbook are a number of responses that you might have had. You may have had one or more responses to this exercise. So go ahead and mark in your own workbook individually the responses that seemed true for you. We'll give you a little bit of time here to do that.
Now take a moment to yourself and fill in the debrief section of your workbook.
Okay, so as you were the one exploring this topic that was important to you, what was that like? How did it feel to have your partner listen in that way to something that was important to you and summarize back with empathy? How did that feel to you? Yes.
Felt very vulnerable, definitely, because it's like you are being very open with your significant other, and you're trusting them with your emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And when your partner is doing those things that are following the guidelines of listening with empathy and showing acceptance and caring and really trying to step into your shoes, that can help you feel safer when you are kind of putting yourself out there and being vulnerable. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good point. Now it's time for you to talk to your partner. What if your partner asked you for this gift, said something like, I'd like to just explore something that's going on with me. Would you take some time and just listen? How would that be for you? Talk with your partner. 1 minute. Go.
Turn and talk to your partner.
Now we want to turn in your workbooks to cracking the code to a deeper connection using listening with empathy. I'll just quickly go over the guidelines so that you get a picture of what this listening with empathy is like. So to prepare, you've got to have that open, accepting attitude. You've got to have that before you set yourself in the position of listening with empathy. And then as you're the listener, you show that strong interest as you listen. You become your partner. You're setting aside your own views. You name back their important things that they've said, their thoughts and their feelings, their concerns and desires. It's not a word-for-word thing. You're just naming back what's important. And we ask you to use the I form in here. So as partner's name, I think, I feel, etc. And then make sure that you're kind of thinking of yourself also as a learner, because you will accept any corrections that are offered to you. Your partner corrects you, that's a gift. So you will go ahead and summarize that back with empathy and internalize that also, okay? And then the second part of this is cracking the code in everyday life. Taking this out into your everyday lives where you've got the bills to pay and the dog to wash and the kids to take care of and all of that. So what can you do with listening with empathy in your everyday life? Well, when your partner is talking about something that matters to them, what can you do?
I can listen with empathy.
Right, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when you do that, you can do that just naturally on the go using the you form. So you don't always have to go back to the I form if it's just kind of something that's going on, maybe even in passing. Use the you form. You can do this to listen to them talking about their day. It can be to help them explore something that is important for them. let your partner give you direction on that. And remember, don't give advice or ask questions. When you're empathizing, that's not allowed. That would be you taking over the conversation and directing it. Instead, just listen. That creates a deeper connection.
And implied in your attitude as you're listening, implied with empathy is this value of acceptance, accepting your partner, and that they have a different point of view and a different experience. And we have a cousin I wanted to tell you about who had an experience recently with his girlfriend and was talking to me about it afterwards, and he said, hey, my girlfriend, she's been working at the same place for 20 years, and it was a job that she only had to drive 4 miles to, and then she had to change jobs, and now she has to drive 40 miles. And she's complaining about it to me. And, I said to her, listen, I work construction. I have to drive all over the place. That's nothing. And now she's mad at me. What's the problem here? You guys see the problem now, right? I said, no, step into her shoes. She has spent like 20 years or so at a job where she only had to drive 5 minutes to work. And here she is, and 40 miles is like an hour out of your day. So she has had 2 hours out of her day just taken away just for a job. And I think that she didn't like this new job too. So think about it from her perspective and her feelings. And you'll get a whole different picture and a better relationship if you do it. So that was the advice we gave to our cousin Bob.
Mm-hmm. Now it's time for you to do partner appreciations. Remember we did that in session 1. We love this. It is a great exercise. So you will tell your partner something you admire about them, something you appreciate that they do, something they've done for you recently that you've appreciated, maybe extra efforts they went to on your behalf. And your partner will give empathy back to you using the you form. They can't just say thanks. They need to repeat it back using the you form. You appreciate that I such and such and such. Okay? And we want each of you to give an appreciation to the other with empathy. So we'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. Go ahead and turn your chairs and appreciate each other.
Turn your chairs so you're knee to knee with your partner and begin the exercise.
You're halfway done. If you haven't already done so, it's time to switch roles. Time's up. Excellent job. Let's turn back toward Don and Alex.
It's really been great to be with you today, and we will see you next session when you will learn about expressing yourself.